She destroyed my bond with our daughter using lies and fake screenshots, then pretended she was broke to get rid of her and enjoy a lavish vacation life. Let me just get straight to the point. My daughter Jenny, she's 17, completely cut me off last year, right in the middle of my divorce. I didn't have the slightest clue why. To make matters worse, I lost custody of her during the proceedings because she insisted she wanted to live with her mom, my ex, Cheryl, who's 42. She claimed she just got along better with her mom, but that didn't sit right with me, because Jenny had always been closer to me. We were tight. That sudden change came out of nowhere, without any warning or reason I could figure out. I never even got the chance to understand what really happened. She moved out not long after the custody battle started and went to live with Cheryl. From then on, she barely spoke to me, only reaching out when it was absolutely necessary. It shattered me. I tried many times to rebuild that bridge, to get her to come back around, but she made it clear she'd chosen her mom, and that was that. Eventually, I stopped trying. I didn't want to keep pushing and drive her further away. After the divorce, I was still granted visitation rights, but Jenny straight up told me she didn't want to see me anymore, something about what had supposedly happened between her mother and me. I was completely in the dark. I hadn't done anything wrong. Cheryl was the one who cheated, and that's what led to the divorce in the first place. I tried to ask Jenny what she meant, tried to get some kind of explanation, but she blocked me. I even showed up at Cheryl's new place just to try and see her, and Cheryl told me I wasn't welcome. So despite having legal rights to see my own daughter, I couldn't visit her, couldn't even talk to her. Almost a full year passed that way. I thought about going back to court to fight for her, but I couldn't bring myself to drag Jenny through another exhausting legal battle. The first one had already drained her emotionally. So I swallowed it all, kept quiet, even though I felt completely robbed of my time with her. Then, just a couple of days ago, something I never expected happened. Jenny showed up at my door. She had all her things with her, and the second I opened the door, she wrapped me in this big, tearful hug. I didn't ask her anything right away. I just let her come inside. I was overwhelmed with happiness, seeing her again after a whole year apart. We sat together quietly for a while, and eventually, she opened up. That's when she finally told me the truth, the real reason she sided with Cheryl during the divorce and cut me out of her life, even though she knew her mom had cheated. Turns out, Cheryl had been feeding her lies about me for months. She told Jenny that I was emotionally abusive, that I'd constantly belittle and berate her when Jenny wasn't around. She painted this picture of me as someone who was controlling, insecure, and just generally awful, but who conveniently managed to hide all of that whenever Jenny was present. To back up her claims, Cheryl showed Jenny some text conversations, completely stripped of context. One of them was a message where I told Cheryl she should wear a sweater to a work event. Cheryl twisted that and told Jenny I was trying to control her appearance, trying to stop her from attracting male attention. But the truth? It was freezing that night, and she had on this thin jacket that wouldn't keep her warm. That was all. Then there was another screenshot, me confronting Cheryl after she openly flirted with one of my friends right in front of me. She brushed it off like she was just being friendly and acted like I'd overreacted. Sure, in that message I was upset and came off a little harsh, but Cheryl spun it to make it look like I was paranoid and unreasonable. One by one, she stacked these conversations together, pulling pieces out of context until Jenny started to believe the worst about me. There were more texts too, all edited for effect, all leaving out the full picture. After seeing about 9 or 10 of those, it's no surprise Jenny believed her mother. She started thinking I was the man Cheryl described, not the dad she'd known for 16 years. And that's when she turned against me, just like that. She didn't even give me a chance to explain my side. Yeah, I was hurt that she believed her mom so easily, but I get it. She was just 16, still young, still impressionable. And even though she and I were always close, she had a good relationship with her mom too. It's hard to fault her entirely, especially when Cheryl had so-called evidence, even if it was all manipulated and presented with a twisted narrative. There were also things Cheryl told her that couldn't be proven with texts, just stories she made up. According to Jenny, Cheryl had convinced her that the cheating wasn't just a mistake, it was something I had pushed her into. She told Jenny that I'd driven her to have the affair because of how toxic I supposedly was. Cheryl had been seeing some coworker for nearly 7 months before I found out. I only caught her because one day she forgot to take her phone into the bathroom, and I saw the messages. That was the breaking point. Our marriage ended right there. And even after that, Jenny had still been on my side until Cheryl got into her head. Somehow, she managed to twist the whole situation, make it seem like I was the villain, and flipped Jenny's view of me. She never brought any of this into court, of course, because if she did, she'd have to back it all up. She kept it all off the record, behind closed doors, where no one could challenge her. Before I knew it, Jenny had changed her mind about everything. Cheryl didn't have to fight hard for custody because she'd already poisoned the well. Jenny didn't want to live with me anymore, and that was that. As much as I can't stand Cheryl for what she did, I have to admit she played her cards well. But thankfully, the truth has a way of coming out. After nearly a year of silence, Jenny finally saw through it. One night, she overheard Cheryl on the phone with her cousin, who was going through her own divorce. Cheryl was giving her cousin advice, telling her to do the exact same thing she'd done to me, coaching her on how to turn her own kid against the father. That was Jenny's wake-up call. Everything clicked for her in that moment. She saw it for what it was: manipulation. She didn't even say anything to Cheryl. She just packed up her stuff and came back home. When Jenny left her mom's house, she didn't say much, just left a note saying she was spending the night at a friend's place. I guess she wanted to keep it simple so Cheryl wouldn't flip out or come looking for her right away. Once she told me everything that had gone down, I looked her straight in the eye and said, "You're staying here now." She smiled, almost like she didn't expect me to take her in so easily. Maybe she thought I'd still be mad at her for cutting me off for nearly a year with no explanation. But honestly, I couldn't be angry at her, not even a little. I put the blame squarely where it belonged, on her 42-year-old mother, who twisted my daughter's emotions during a time when she was already struggling with our divorce. After she told me everything, I picked up the phone and called my divorce attorney. I wasn't sure what my options were legally, but I wanted to find a way to hold Cheryl accountable for what she'd done. That's when my lawyer brought up something called intentional parental alienation. He said that since I'd heard it directly from Jenny, proving it would be a lot easier. He told me we could file for full custody and petition the court to modify the current custody arrangement now that Jenny wanted to live with me. That was all I needed to hear. I told him to start the paperwork right away, and he did. 2 days later, Jenny mentioned that Cheryl had been blowing up her phone, calling nonstop. Apparently, Cheryl had already called Jenny's friend's house to check on her, and when she realized Jenny wasn't there, she started panicking. She probably figured out she was staying with me and wanted answers. I figured there wasn't any point in pretending anymore. My lawyer would be contacting her soon anyway. So I called Cheryl myself and told her straight, Jenny was with me now. I also let her know I was aware of everything she'd said to Jenny to turn her against me. Of course, she tried to act like she didn't know what I was talking about, playing the innocent victim, as usual. But I wasn't buying it. I reminded her about all the cherry-picked screenshots she'd shown Jenny, twisting things to make me look like a monster. I told her, plain and simple, that I was filing for full custody and that she should expect to be hit with a civil lawsuit too, probably for defamation or slander, considering the things she'd accused me of. I was angry, and yeah, maybe I said more than I should have in the heat of the moment. Next thing I knew, we were both screaming into our phones. Cheryl completely lost it when I brought up the lawsuit. She yelled that it was already bad enough I was trying to steal her daughter and now I wanted to sue her on top of that? She called it ridiculous. But in my head, it was the least she deserved. I told her it didn't matter what she thought, it was happening. I was done letting her get away with what she did to both me and our daughter. Then I hung up and tossed my phone aside. I didn't check it for hours. Honestly, I didn't want to hear from her or anyone else. I needed some space to breathe, so I went for a walk just around the neighborhood to cool off. I left Jenny at home, figuring I'd only be gone for maybe 30 minutes. When I got back, I walked into something I wasn't expecting. Cheryl was sitting in my living room. Jenny was on the couch across from her, looking like she was about to cry. One look at my daughter's face and I knew Cheryl had been yelling at her. That was the last straw. After everything she'd done, she still had the nerve to come into my home and scream at our daughter? I snapped. I told Jenny to go to her room so her mother and I could talk privately. But honestly, it wasn't even a conversation, it was another blowout. Except this time, Cheryl wasn't even arguing about Jenny. She was more upset about the lawsuit, saying I was going too far and that she couldn't afford it. Somewhere in all the shouting, she broke down crying. She confessed that she'd lost her job a couple of months ago after she broke things off with the guy she'd cheated on me with. Apparently, once things ended between them, he told everyone at her workplace about their affair, which she'd managed to keep quiet for a long time. Word got around, and she got fired. Now she's out of work, barely scraping by. And in some twisted way, she admitted that it was almost a relief Jenny was coming to live with me, less financial pressure on her. I just sat there, stunned. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Her job, her money, her pride, those things mattered more to her than her own daughter's well-being. It made me sick. After she'd said her piece and stopped crying, I looked her dead in the eye and told her she was a terrible mother. That she deserved the lawsuit and everything else coming her way. Then I told her to get out of my house, and thankfully, she did. But since that day, she's been texting me nonstop. Calling me a jerk, saying I'm just doing this out of spite, trying to get revenge over something petty. And honestly, I started wondering. Am I being petty? I mean, Jenny's with me now. That's all I ever wanted. So do I really need to go out of my way to hurt Cheryl? Update 1. Hey everyone, just wanted to give a quick update. I've decided not to go through with the civil lawsuit. I read through a bunch of the comments I got after sharing my story, and while most folks agreed I had every right to sue, I had some time to think. At the end of the day, my main focus should be my daughter, not revenge. I want to wrap up the custody situation as quickly and smoothly as possible, and the less Cheryl is involved in our lives going forward, the better. So I told my attorney to drop the slander suit. But we're absolutely still moving ahead with the custody modification. Cheryl's already been served, and we've got a mediation meeting lined up in the next couple of days. Jenny's been a huge help. She's already sent over all the evidence I need to support our case. I asked Jenny if she wanted her mom to still have partial custody, just to be fair. But she didn't even hesitate. She told me she didn't want Cheryl to have any custody at all. After what happened the other day, she said she doesn't even want to see her mom again. She apologized to me over and over again, really poured her heart out. Jenny told me how sorry she was for leaving me behind and never even giving me a proper explanation for why she cut me off. She said that when Cheryl showed up at our place the other day, she was furious that Jenny had moved in with me without saying a word to her. I'd gotten home just 10 minutes after Cheryl had arrived, and in that short time, she'd already managed to let Jenny have it. Cheryl tore into her, accused her of being ungrateful and selfish for leaving like that. She even went as far as saying Jenny had hurt me first, before she ever hurt her mom. And look, I get it, that part is technically true. Jenny did leave me in the dark for almost a year. But if anyone's to blame here, it's Cheryl. That entire confrontation was just another one of her gaslighting routines, twisting everything to make Jenny think all of this was somehow her fault. Cheryl's never been one to accept blame, even when she's the one who lights the fire. And just so we're clear, I'm already sugarcoating it. Cheryl's actual words to our daughter were way harsher than I'm even comfortable repeating. I was married to that woman for over 2 decades. I know exactly how nasty she can get when she wants to cut someone down, and I hate that Jenny had to experience that side of her firsthand. But in a strange way, I'm relieved Jenny came back to me, because Cheryl clearly cares more about her pride in her wallet than being any kind of decent mother. Update 2. So something unexpected happened, though honestly, it shouldn't have surprised me. Cheryl officially decided to give up custody of our daughter. Completely. No joint custody, no visitation schedule, nothing. She just handed it over. My lawyer and I were caught completely off guard. I mean, I always thought that, deep down, Cheryl must have still had some love left for Jenny. But apparently not. All she wants now is to live alone and save money. And yeah, I get it, she's between jobs right now. But still, getting laid off doesn't mean you'll never work again. It's a temporary setback, not a reason to completely cut ties with your child. And what's even more confusing is this: she didn't have to go this far. Even if she just asked for basic visitation rights, she wouldn't have had to spend much. A weekend here or there, that's it. Barely any financial burden. But instead, she chose to walk away entirely. Honestly, I don't buy that it's just about money. Cheryl used to work at a well-respected company and held a pretty high position, department head, good salary, the works. 3 months without a paycheck shouldn't have drained her completely, especially since she was always the smart saver in the marriage. Unless she blew through everything in the past year, there's no way she's broke. Jenny also told me that Cheryl didn't suddenly change her lifestyle after the divorce. No new car, no big trips, nothing extravagant. She was living like she always had. So something feels off. I don't know what, but I've got a gut feeling that we're not seeing the whole picture. Still, I guess I should just be grateful that I don't have to gear up for another exhausting legal fight. After everything that happened last year, none of us had the energy for that. So even though it's strange, I'm trying to see it as a win. Update 3. Well, it's official, Cheryl signed away her parental rights today. The whole thing felt heavy. Emotional. Just awful. But it's done now. Jenny's been upset all day, and I don't blame her. Cheryl did hug her goodbye and kissed her on the forehead before leaving, but something about it felt final, like we won't be seeing her again for a long time, if ever. I've never liked Cheryl, especially not after everything she's put me and Jenny through. But the truth is, she was a huge part of our lives for a long time. And no matter how badly she handled things, there were still some good memories buried in there too. It's hard to just throw all that away. Jenny and I are hurting. But at least we've got each other now. We're going to stick together and push through this. Honestly, even though I've been trying to mentally prepare both of us for this day, I didn't realize how much it would knock the wind out of me when it actually happened. It's surreal. Jenny isn't even Cheryl's daughter anymore. Not legally, anyway. And I don't know how to feel about that. I'm confused, sad, angry, but none of those feelings matter as much as making sure Jenny's okay. She's too young to be dealing with this kind of emotional baggage, and it kills me to see her hurting. Update 4. Hey everyone, so something happened today that really threw me for a loop. Not in a good way, either. The kind of news that makes you want to just scream out of frustration. I met up with an old friend today, someone I've known since high school. Turns out, this friend is also Cheryl's second cousin, though we didn't realize that until much later. Cheryl isn't close with her extended family, especially the folks on her dad's side, so the connection wasn't obvious. Cheryl was raised mostly by her mom, and her dad passed away when she was 7. Anyway, this friend and I had reconnected a while back and started seeing each other casually. Today, we went out to lunch, and I was trying to keep things light, didn't want to get into all the heavy stuff about Cheryl, Jenny, or the hellish roller coaster I've been on. But the topic came up naturally. She asked how I'd been doing emotionally, and I just let it out. I realized I hadn't really talked about this whole mess with anyone outside my family. Not in depth, anyway. It's all been too personal, too raw. I've talked to my parents about it, sure, but spilling all of it to a friend? That was new. But talking to a friend, really talking, that hits different. I mean, sure, I'd spoken to my attorney about everything, and he's a friend too in a way, but the moment any emotions came up, it always turned into a legal strategy session. That's not the same as having a real heart-to-heart, where someone just listens without thinking in terms of motions and paperwork. So sitting there with someone who knew me before all of this mess, I finally let it all out. I told him how Cheryl gave up custody of Jenny, signed away her parental rights, and claimed she did it because she'd lost her job and needed to save money. But as I talked, I noticed his face change. He looked genuinely confused. I had to pause and ask what was going on. That's when he hit me with something that turned everything upside down. He said the reason he'd even asked how I was handling the divorce was because he'd recently seen Cheryl's Facebook posts, photos of her vacationing on some tropical beach with her boyfriend. He assumed that was what I'd be upset about, not her disappearing act as a parent. And that's when the truth hit both of us like a freight train. Turns out, she hadn't lost her job. She wasn't broke. And she sure as hell hadn't broken up with her boyfriend. The entire sob story she fed me? A complete lie. It was nothing but a low, disgusting tactic to dump Jenny on me and go off to live her best, child-free life, guilt-free. My friend showed me the pictures. Cheryl, smiling on a yacht, sun-kissed and wrapped around her boyfriend like she didn't have a single care in the world. That's not the life of someone struggling between jobs. That's not someone who just signed away her rights as a mother out of desperation. She wasn't devastated, she was celebrating. And I never would have seen those posts on my own. She'd blocked me long ago, and Jenny too. Most of our mutual friends sided with me after the divorce, since she was the one who cheated, so they'd cut ties with her. But she must have forgotten about her cousin, that same friend I was sitting across from at lunch. He was still on her friends list. I sat there, stunned, sick to my stomach. I couldn't say a word. My friend didn't say anything either. We just sat in silence as I tried to wrap my head around what I'd just seen. And for a few minutes, I actually tried to make excuses for her in my head out of habit, maybe. I've spent months doing that, bending over backwards to find a reason for her behavior. But this time, I couldn't. I just couldn't. Not after what she did to Jenny. Not after how broken Jenny was the day Cheryl gave her up. I remember how crushed my daughter was, how she tried to hide it but couldn't. And now I find out it was all a lie? That Cheryl just wanted us out of the way so she could enjoy herself? No. There's no excuse for that. Now I'm left sitting here, knowing I have to tell Jenny the truth. And God, it's going to destroy her. But I can't keep it from her. She deserves honesty. She's been lied to enough. Update 5. I told Jenny the truth tonight, just a few hours ago, actually. And I've got to say, I didn't expect her to take it the way she did. She didn't break down. She didn't get angry or spiral. She just looked at me, nodded slowly, and said, "It doesn't matter anymore." And I think that's when it hit me, she's grown up. In what feels like the blink of an eye, she's become someone who can see things clearly without falling apart. She told me that she'd already let go of her mother the day she walked out and came back to me, the day she apologized. And when Cheryl signed those papers? That sealed it for her. That was her final goodbye. So now, it really doesn't matter to Jenny what her mother says, or what she does, or who she pretends to be. If Cheryl wanted out, she got it. Jenny said she wouldn't have tried to force herself back into her mom's life anyway. Neither of us would have asked Cheryl for anything, not even child support. I've always provided for my family, long before Cheryl ever brought in a paycheck. And that's it, I guess. We're not going after her. We're not filing anything else. We're just letting it all go. Cheryl made her choice. And now Jenny and I are moving forward, together.